Hey, it's Pete here and I'm back for another featured lesson. Now today I wanted to talk about, in the bidding, when are we showing points and when are we showing length? I'm not talking about which bids are forcing or not, but sometimes we can jump in a suit and we do that to show length, and sometimes we jump in a suit to show we've got small points. So let's look at a few different examples and see when they actually come up. So the first one I wanted to talk about is, let's say it went one heart, partner bids a no trump, and we bid either 2, 3, or 4 hearts. Okay. Now, which of these show more points? Which of these show more hearts? And what are we meant to actually do in these different situations? So first of all, what does 2 hearts show? So if we just bid 2 hearts, this will show that we have 6 hearts and that we have a minimum hand. We've got 11 to 15 sort of points, and we could have 7 hearts, but we've got showing at least 6 hearts. Whereas if we jump to, say, 3 hearts, does this show 7 card hearts or does this show more points? Now what this should show is this should show a hand with invitational points. So sort of 15 to 18, bad 18s, with at least 6 hearts. So 6 or 7 hearts, but invitational range. We don't just do this because we've got a 7 card suit. I see this happen a lot, but if we've just got 7 hearts and a minimum hand, we can just rebid 2 hearts and potentially compete to 3 hearts later. Whereas if we jump like this, we are inviting partner to look at their 6 to 9 point range and go, are they minimum or are they maximum? And if they're maximum, bid on to 4. Whereas if they're minimum, leave it low. So here, this doesn't promise a 7th heart, but it shows at least 6 and an invitational hand. Whereas if we have 7 hearts and a minimum hand, we can just rebid 2 hearts and then compete to 3 hearts later if we want to. So if we jump to 4 hearts, what does this show? I like this to show a hand that was too good to preempt 4 of a major to start with. So it typically would show 8 hearts, maybe a 7-4 shape, but it doesn't promise any extra values. You've just got a whole string of hearts. Now you can also do this on other hands that are pretty strong, because you know your partner's point range is 6 to 9. But basically it's saying I want to play in 4 hearts and I have a whole string of hearts. This is the only place that I want to play. So you can do this on a 12 count with an 8 card heart suit, because if you had 12 points and 8 hearts, you don't want to preempt 4 hearts initially because maybe you're missing out on slam. So you can open 1 major and rebid 4 major to say I had a 4 major preempt, but I was checking, I was too good for that. Just checking if we potentially had slam. We don't have it anymore, so we've now got 4 hearts. So you also want to be aware of what do you do if you've got, say, a 6 card suit and a game forcing hand, say like 19 to like 21. Hand too bad to open 2 clubs, but good enough to force the game opposite a response. How do they want to bid that if you've only got 6 hearts? So this is a spot where I find it useful to actually have some system. There's no good current method that you can actually use in standard bidding. You can either rebid 4 hearts if your hearts are good enough, but you're removing the option of slam because partner won't move over that. You can make up a new suit, or you can add in some conventions. But it's really important to understand, how do we actually bid this hand? And this is a problem that we have in the current methods that we have. And should we look to adding a convention to try and solve this? So if you've got sort of 18 to 21 with just a 6 card heart suit, you're interested in slam opposite a 1 no trump response, and you're also not sure if you want to play 3 no trumps or 4 hearts, but you don't want to let partner pass, so you don't want them just to drop 3 hearts. So how do you actually solve that? Okay, so that was the first ones that I wanted to talk about, which was after we open a major and then rebid 2 major, 3 major, or 4 major. So 2 major is just a minimum hand and it promises at least 6. Jumping to 3 major is an invitational hand and promises at least 6. So you don't need to jump to 3 just because you've got a 7 card suit. You can just rebid 2 hearts and then compete on to 3 hearts if you want to, if the opponents get in the way at all. So the next one is just preempting. So we discussed what 2 hearts, 3 hearts, and 4 hearts are. So all of these are just preempts, and these ones just show what sort of length you've got in the suit. So here, 2 hearts should just promise a 6 card suit, 3 hearts should show a 7 card suit, and 4 hearts should show an 8 card suit. Now, I like to vary this up a bit based on vulnerability, such that if I'm not vulnerable, I might push it up a bit, an extra level if I'm a bit more distributional. So I might open 4 hearts with a 7 card suit if I'm a 7-3-2-1. I definitely would open it if I had a 7-4 shape. Whereas if I open 3 hearts, while this is usually a 7 card suit, maybe I've got a 6-4 shape or something like that, so I've got a bit more extra distribution for my 3 level bid if I'm not vulnerable. If I'm vulnerable, they're very often the actual regular shape, but if I had a 7-4, I'd still be bidding 4 hearts. But here, 2, 3, and 4 don't show how good you are. They're still just preemptive bids, but they show what sort of length you actually have in the suit. Similarly, if you bid, say, 3 clubs or 4 clubs. So 3 clubs can always be a 6 card suit if you're not vulnerable, because we don't have a 2 club preempt available. So 3 clubs is 6 or 7 based on that. And 4 clubs is a pretty rare bid because it removes 3 no trumps from the picture, but this is still a valuable thing. Sometimes you know that your hand won't be good for 3 no trumps. Other times you're willing to take the risk that you want to push the opponents anyway. So you can do this on 8 clubs or 7 clubs and a pretty distributional hand. So they're just a little bit about preempts. So the next stage I wanted to talk about is as responder, what we're actually showing when we're rebidding our suit. So let's say that partner opens, say, a diamond, and we bid a spade, and then partner bids 2 clubs, and we bid 2 spades. How many spades are we actually showing here? Are we showing just a 5 card suit, or are we showing a 6 card suit? Now, my general rule is depends on what opener shows. Has opener shown a balanced hand, or could they have an unbalanced hand? Now, if opener could have an unbalanced hand, then we're showing a 6 card suit. And the reason for this is when partner shows an unbalanced hand, they very often have a shortage. Now, if they've got a singleton, we don't want to be playing in a 5-1 fit. So to say, I want to play in spades, even though you have diamonds and clubs, we want to have 6 so that we can handle playing in a 6-1 fit. And partner doesn't have to keep removing this. So if partner shows an unbalanced hand, then this sort of bidding would typically show a 6 card spade suit. There are very rare situations where you do this on 5 where everything is disastrous, but your partner should expect that you have 6 spades for this sort of bidding. Whereas if we backtrack and say partner rebid 1 no trump, now what we can do is when partner shows a balanced hand, responder can rebid 5 card suits. So why to do this is, firstly, partner can't have a singleton in your suit anymore, or at least shouldn't have a singleton in your suit. So at the very least, we're playing in a 5-2 fit. But then we also want to look at what sort of distributions can partner have. They can have a 4-3-3, they could have a 4-4-3-2, they could have a 5-3-3-2. These are the typical hand shapes that they can actually have. And there's only 2 doubletons in there, and there are a lot more 3 card suits that they can actually have. So if partner shows a balanced hand, repeating your suit actually has a really good chance of finding a fit here. So you can rebid 5 card suits when partner shows a balanced hand, but not when they show an unbalanced hand. So here, 5 or more spades, and they're still minimum. So both of these are just minimum hands. If you have a jump in the bidding, you're always showing 6. So if it went 2 clubs and you rebid 3 spades, this would be showing 6, but typically an invitational hand. And if partner rebid a no trump and you jump to 3 spades, again, this is showing 6, but an invitational hand. If you only had 5 spades and an invitational hand, maybe you could use some sort of check back or make up some bid which finds out whether partner has 3 card support or not. So if you had an invitational hand, you would be showing a 6 card suit all the time. Alright, the next one I wanted to talk about is a little bit about opener. So what sort of length are they showing when it goes like this, where they open the club, partner rebids a diamond, and opener rebids 1 spade. So what sort of length in clubs do they have? What sort of length in spades do they have? So here we need to just have partnership agreement. There is no just one consensus here. Now my preference is I like to just rebid one no trump with balanced hands, so when I rebid one spade here, it would show an unbalanced hand with typically 5 clubs and 4 spades. Some people like to just bid 4 card suits up the line, which is another style that they choose to do, in which case one club hasn't shown any extra length, in which case they could still just have 3 clubs and 4 spades. And the issue I have here is it's really hard for the responder to ever judge, is it right to play in clubs? So for me, I really like opener to rebid one no trump whenever they've got a balanced hand, but bidding 4 card suits up the line is another reasonable line of play, and it's up to partnership style to decide what sort of length are you showing in your opening bid when you bid like this. Some people pick middle ground, where they'll only bid another suit like this if they've got 4 clubs. They're not necessarily unbalanced, but they're promising some extra length in clubs. So make sure that you and your partner discuss what sort of minimum length can partner have in their opening suit to have auctions like this. If instead the auction proceeded at the 2 level, where it went, say, 1 club past 1 spade, and now you bid 2 diamonds, this definitely should be unbalanced and promising at least 5 clubs, at least 4 diamonds. And this is a reverse, so you would be showing extra points, 16 or more points as well. The reason being is the style of bidding 4 card suits up the line only applies at the 1 level. If you're at the 2 level, you are now showing unbalanced hands. Even if responder bid at the 2 level, if we didn't bid 2 no trumps, we would be showing an unbalanced hand. So if we had the auction go 1 diamond, 2 clubs, 2 hearts, this should be an unbalanced hand with 5 or more diamonds and 4 or more hearts. We can only do the bid 4 card suits up the line at the 1 level. If the auction escalates to the 2 level, you are showing unbalanced hands if you start rebidding that. So if you had a balanced hand, you would need to rebid 2 no trump. The final situation that I wanted to actually cover is when responder sort of jumps to 4 major. So here you can bid 4 hearts like this, which would typically say I've got a preemptive hand and 4 card hearts. Not 4 card hearts. I'm wanting to play in 4 hearts. I've typically got 8 hearts, maybe some 7 with a pretty strange distribution. You are not showing a strong hand, you're showing a pretty weak hand actually, typically to a 4 heart opening, so about 6 to 10 sort of total points. Whereas what's the difference is if you bid 1 heart and then partner bids 1 no trump and you bid 4 hearts. Well, you could have jumped to 4 hearts straight away, so you don't have that anymore. But here, this one only promises 6 hearts because partner has promised a balanced hand. They've shown at least 2 cards in every suit, so you've got only need 6 hearts to have a fit. So here, this is more like a hand that actually has points and wants to play in 4 hearts anyway. The final one is, what if partner rebids a spade and you jump to 4 hearts? So this is another tricky one, but here you should be showing points and length in hearts. I'd expect 7 or 8 hearts and about 12 points here. So we're bidding 4 hearts in all the different situations. One showed 6 to 10, one showed only a 6 card suit, and one showed 7 or 8 hearts and points. So what's the difference between all these different situations? So the first one, we jump to 4 hearts straight away, and that's a preemptive action, and we don't know if we're going to make 4 hearts, but the next opponent might have wanted to come in, and we wanted to jam them out of the auction, so we jump to 4 hearts and say, I've just got hearts, this is the only spot I want to play, and leave me there. Now, because you didn't do that the first time, and you now jump to 4 hearts in this auction, when partner can still have 0 hearts, you still need a lot of hearts for that. So you need 8 or so hearts to be able to say, I only want to play in hearts. Because partners can have an unbalanced hand and have 0 hearts, you need to be able to play opposite a shortage when you bid like this. But we also don't have that 6 to 10 point range because we didn't bid this the first time. So when we bid like this, we're showing that we're stronger than that, and we've got a whole string of hearts. And the important reason to understand why we're showing more points is partner's unlimited. They could still bid in this auction, so they need to know what sort of range we've actually got. So here, we're sort of enough points to force the game, so 11 or more points with 8 or more hearts. Usually this will end the auction, but not always. And the one prior to this, where partner showed a balanced hand, now we don't need 8 hearts anymore for our jump, but we do have to say I wanted to play in 4 hearts opposite a weak no trump. So this would be about 12 points and a 6-card heart suit. So they're all the ones that I wanted to discuss. I talked about if opener rebids 2 major, 3 major, or 4 major after partner responds a no trump, where 2 major was weak with 6-card suit. So let's just bring it up once more. Just quick recap of what we covered. So 1 heart, 1 no trump. 2 hearts showed weak with 6 hearts minimum hand. 3 hearts showed an invitational hand. Now you don't just jump to this if you've got 7, whereas 4 hearts had a hand that was too good to preempt 4 hearts to start with, so it typically has an 8-card heart suit, and this is where the auction's going to lie. If we just talked about preempting the first time, 2 hearts shows 6, 3 hearts shows 7, 4 hearts shows 8. If you're not vulnerable, you can be a bit more aggressive and push these up a bit, depending on some good shape. The next one I wanted to talk about is when responder rebids suits. So if the auction went 1 diamond, 1 spade, and 1 no trump. If partner shows a balanced hand, you can rebid 5-card suits. Oops. You can rebid 5-card suits. Whereas if partner shows an unbalanced hand, then you're showing 6-card suits. So here, 2 spades would show 6. I also wanted to make sure you understood in your partnership what you're actually showing if you're in your first bid suit if you bid up the line. So how many clubs are you showing in this? You want to discuss with your partnership, can this still be 3? Does it have to be 4? Or does it have to be an unbalanced hand? Make sure in your partnership you know, do we bid our 4-card suits up the line always? Is opener obliged to rebid 1 no trump in these sorts of situations if they're balanced hand? So that you know what sort of length there is in clubs. That way, if responder wants to get playing clubs, they know whether it's a good spot or not. But this only applies at the 1 level. If you bid new suits at the 2 level, you're always unbalanced. You don't do bidding 4-card suits up the line at the 2 level. And finally, we discussed responder getting to 4 major, whether they jump to 4 major straight away, whether they respond 1 major and bid 4 major in the second time, and what if opener shows a balanced hand, or what if opener shows an unbalanced hand. When it shows 8-card suits, when it shows weak with 8, when it shows strong with 8, and when it can just be a 6-card suit. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this featured lesson, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.